Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Telugu NRI Radio. Welcome to special immigration show with attorney Ms. Prashanthi Reddy from Law Offices of Prashanthi Reddy PLLC. Everyone wants to secure their future in US. Processing an immigration visa can be a complex process, but not anymore. The Law Office of Prashanthi Reddy can help you unravel and simplify this complex process. ReadyESQ.com has put a lot of information and online tools in the hands of immigrant community and for the benefit of US employees. ReadyESQ.com provides you with the latest and updated information on US immigration laws and policies in a very simplified way that is very easy to understand. Ms. Prashanthi Reddy is in immigration field since 1997 and having 25 plus years of experience in providing immigration related services and helped so many clients with immigration related issues. She is presently working as the Immigration Council Advisor for the Indian Consulate in New York and Immigration Advisor for American Telugu Association. So today, here we have a very experienced and most famous immigration attorney, Ms. Prashanthi Reddy, with us to discuss about the topic, different ways to apply for green card and other immigration related issues. So let's welcome her friends. Hello, Ms. Prashanthi Reddy Garu. Welcome to Telugu NRI Radio. How are you doing?
Hello, Bhargavi Garu. Thanks for having me. Doing well. It's really a pleasure to be on your show.
Great. We are pleasure to have you, ma'am. And welcome to our show. Let's start the show, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely.
So to begin with, can you please provide us with the latest updates of June visa bulletin, please, ma'am?
Yes, Bhargavi, this is hot off the press. So it came out just yesterday. So this is really breaking news for us for the visa bulletin. Just to give you a backdrop of what is the visa bulletin for those of you who don't know, in order to file for a green card, whether you file family-based or employment-based, and that is our topic for today, filing how to file a green card. But in order to file a green card, you need to first make sure that your visa number is available, which means that every year a certain number of green card numbers are allotted. So it's not an unlimited number of green cards. Every country has a certain number of green card numbers allotted, and that is divided equally among all the countries. So there's something called a visa bulletin that comes out every month. So it's the 15th of the previous month. Like, for example, this month it came out on the 12th, yesterday, for the next month. So they give us a 15-day advance notice. And once you, that is the visa bulletin. So once your date, the date of filing corresponds with that visa bulletin date, you're able to file the final stage of your green card. Otherwise, there have been people who've been waiting for 15 years, 10 years, and it's a big issue right now, especially with Indian nationals, where employment-based cases are concerned. So that's why the visa bulletin is something that is people look forward to every month to see whether their dates have moved or not, so that they can file for the final stage of their green card. So having said that about the visa bulletin, for this month, visa bulletin for June month, we have some really good news. And let's go with the good news first. So the good news is that for employment-based category 2, that is people who have a master's degree and or a bachelor's +5 employment-based, who have filed their labor certification based on that qualification. For them, their dates have moved by 1 year, final action date.
Exactly. It was surprising for me too. 1 year it moved all of a sudden. I thought it will move for 2 months, but it all of a sudden moved to 1 year.
Right. So what's been happening is the last few months has been, as you might have been noticing, it's been moving a few months. Then a few months ago, we had a big leap forward, moved by 6 months. And this for June, it's moved to December 1, 2014. So, sorry, it's moved to September 1, 2014. Exactly 1 year movement from 2013 to 2014. So that is really good news for a lot of people. So a lot more people can qualify now. We were a little worried, Bhargavi, because, as the visa dates keep moving, more and more people will file their 485s, and then the visa numbers will get exhausted, right? That's a natural phenomenon. So we were thinking that we were wondering how long we can expect forward movement in this year, and we're continuing to be surprised by good news every month. So Yeah, so that is the best news for the visa bulletin. EB2 advances by 1 year to September 1, 2014.
If the people interfile from EB3 to EB2 now, so there is a chance to retrogress again as the huge number of cases increase again in EB2 kind of.
Yes, correct. So that is inevitable. So people if you remember, or for those of you who remember, when we filed October 2020, there was a big deadline because suddenly the dates moved forward and EB3 was moving forward. It was advanced and EB2 had not. So a lot of people, in fact, downgraded from EB2 to EB3, filed their I-140 and then they filed their 485. So because so many people moved from EB2 to EB3, suddenly EB3 retrogressed and EB2 started moving rapidly forward. This is what is happening now.
Yeah.
So if there is same rapid forward movement in EB2, exactly the same thing will happen. Everybody will move into EB2 and then it becomes backlog again. Everybody moves back to EB3. So it's like a pendulum, moving back and forth. So unless, and it's ridiculous actually, if you ask me, Bhargavi, because how many times will people keep on filing 485s, right?
Exactly.
So unless there is some law that comes up which fixes this issue, and there have been many pending bills in Congress, but nothing has happened so far. So let's see. But just to reiterate, for the rest of the visa bulletin, we haven't seen much change. EB3 China is not changed. EB2 China not changed. EB2 for dates for filing is different from final action date. Dates for filing is basically you can file the green card, and the dates are usually ahead for dates for filing. So they'll give you advance. They'll allow you to file in advance. You can file, you can get EAT advance approval, but you won't get the green card. So that's dates for filing. So this month, though, there hasn't been much change even in that dates for filing table. So the only change is in the final action date. But they haven't told us as yet whether we can use the dates for filing bulletin or not, because every month USCIS lets us know whether dates for filing can be used or not. So they haven't yet told us that. We're hoping by tomorrow, by next week, they'll let us know that, and then we can follow that bulletin and see if there's anything interesting there. But so far, EB3 India and EB2 India remains unchanged for dates for filing. For the family-based cases, there's not much movement in the family-based visa numbers, and that's not surprising because the consulates have been severely backlogged. Especially Mumbai consulate has about 500,000 applications backlogged because of COVID. The consulates were closed, and also because of Trump's travel ban. The cases were not being processed to the consulate. So we have a heavy backlog. There's no movement, therefore there won't be much movement with the visa numbers also. Another piece of information which may be significant is F2A category, which is basically family-based category, spouses and children of permanent residents. We've seen, for those of you who have been following this, we've seen that since 2019, since just before COVID, this category has been current for Indian nationals. Otherwise, in the past, if you're a green card holder, you have to get your spouse. It was impossible to get them, and it's a big joke, right, in the marriage scene in India, because whenever you say you're a green card holder, no one wants to marry you because it takes so long to get the visa. But that has changed since 2019, and it's been current since 2019. But the not so good news is that they're expecting that there will be a cutoff date, which means that it won't be current anymore from August onwards, because there's been a rapid forward movement. They've used up a lot of the available visa numbers, and most probably they'll have to have a cutoff date. We don't know what that cutoff date will be, but they're expecting there will be a cutoff date in August. So all those permanent residents who have married and who have spouses who are out of the country should file as soon as possible before August, so that they can get the benefit of the visa number being current. So that's my update for the visa bulletin, Bhargavi.
Got it. So is there any possibility EB3 to move forward?
So that is likely to happen. EB3 is likely to move now very soon. So EB3 will move and EB2 will be backlogged. But when, we don't know. How long that will take, we don't know. But as of now, EB2 is moving very quickly. EB3 is obviously is not moving that much because of so many cases that were filed in 2020. When that will reverse, we don't know, but it'll happen at some point.
Got it. So, is there any number of times they can interfile, or they can do it unlimited times to EB3 to EB2, EB2 to EB3?
Well, they can do it unlimited times, but USCIS has said somewhere that if you are filing for a request to interfile, you can do it only once, which means if you're, there are two ways of making use of your EB2 and EB3. One way is interfiling, which means based on your pending 485, you're requesting for your other I-140 to be used, your EB3 or EB2 I-140 to be used. So it's the same 485 that you filed and you're making use of another I-140 that you might have. That's interfiling. Okay. But you can also make use of your other I-140, or even if you have a family-based petition, you can make use of that with your, by refiling the 485, filing a new 485. So there are two ways of making use of that. So you can file as many 485s as you want. If you have a better priority date available to you and you've already exhausted your interfile request, or if your interfile request has already been granted, then what you can do is refile another 485. But of course, at some point, you'll have to withdraw one of the 485s because, you know, they can't obviously approve two green cards. They only approve one. So.
Got it. So we have callers now. Can we take calls?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Hi. Hello. Yes, Andy. Telugu. Welcome to Telugu NRI.
Hi.
May I know your name?
Yeah, my name is Venu Duggaraju. Calling from Virginia, Washington, D.C.
Okay, sure. You can go ahead and talk to Prashanthi Garu.
Hi, Prashanthi Garu.
Hello, Andy.
My question is actually last month. I mean, in the month of March, we were approved the green cards.
Congratulations.
It is through consular processing in the Mumbai consulate under EB3 quota.
Okay.
So since my daughter is age out, immediately we landed in US, and now we are in Virginia at my brother's place. And my question is, in order to continue my daughter's education, we need to take the re-entry permit. So till now, I did not receive the physical green cards. So shall we apply the re-entry permit without having the physical green cards also?
I suggest you wait until you get the physical green card and then apply for return resident permit. You could possibly apply for return resident permit if you have proof of, you have to then go to the one of the field offices close by, and you have to ask them to stamp your passport with the green card stamp, because right now you don't have any proof of being a green card holder. So you need either. Yeah, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is in Mumbai consulate, they stamped a visa saying it is.
No, that is not a green card. Yeah, that is not green card. That is just evidence so that your green card can be issued by USCIS. Okay. That is only an immigrant visa that is granted to you that allows you to come to the US. Once you come here, they process all the paperwork for your green card and you get the green card in the mail. So in the meantime, if that hasn't happened, I'm not even sure, maybe they have not yet processed your green card, obviously. So I don't think it'll work even if you go to the field office and ask for a stamp. They usually issue an I-551 stamp, but that's only in a situation where the green card is already approved, but you haven't received the card. Or, you are filing for a replacement card, or you're filing for an extension of your green card after 10 years. Usually works in that situation, but for your return resident permit, it might not work, but you can try it. Go to your local office. Of course, you have to first get an appointment. I don't know if they're giving appointments or not. Go there and see if you can get the I-551 stamp for the green card, and then use that and file for return resident permit. I mean, there's no harm. At the most, they'll deny it. There's no harm in trying. But all these things take time. All these things take time. So if your daughter has to go back because she has to join school or college or something, that is time bound, and USCIS is never time bound. So that's a problem.
Okay, so you want me to check with the field office first and then see?
Yeah, right. But I'm just telling you, even if you apply for the return resident permit, that can take 6+ months.
Okay.
To get it. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for calling. And we have one more caller, Prashanthi Garu. Let's take one more call.
Sure.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, your name?
My name is Anil.
Okay. And your question, sir?
Yeah, hi, Prashanthi Garu. Thanks for organizing this call.
Welcome.
So my question is, I am on EB3 and I have June 2011 date. Like earlier, I was in EB2. So I downgraded in October 2020.
Right.
So my case now is transferred to National Benefit Center. So that happened like last month. So like there is a visa bulletin which got released today. They are saying
we just discussed that. Right.
Yeah, sorry, Prashanthi Garu.
No, we were just discussing that. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what in the bottom of the visa bulletin, what they were saying is like EB3. There is a road demand. There is more road demand, and we are gonna put cutoff dates on the rest of the world and China and even like India anyway. It is there, right? So my question to you is again, like it's like EB3 India quota, is it finished or like I don't know, because I like a lot of people after my date, they already got green card and my case is stuck at National Benefit Center. So like should I go with EB2 or like wait for EB3?
Well, USCIS is advising that if you have an EB2 petition, to go with EB2 because the dates are, what your final action date, both are, both your dates are available, both EB3 and EB2 under final action?
Yes, Prashanthi Garu.
Then I suggest right now to go with EB2.
Oh, EB2.
Or my suggestion, or a better suggestion instead of interfiling maybe is to just refile your 485. So that way you'll have one 485 under EB2 and the other one under EB3 and you have both. So whatever happens, you're covered under both EB2 and EB3. That's another suggestion.
Oh, okay. So my case for EB2 will go to National Benefit Center. Like
all cases are supposed to be forwarded to. I mean, when we send it out, we have to send it out based on the address given at on the USCIS website, and it's not NBC. But they have said that they are forwarding all the cases to NBC. They have not yet done it. And not all cases are being sent to NBC. Those which are not yet processed are being sent to NBC. Those that have already been processed or are being scheduled for interviews, etc., are not being sent as yet. They will finalize it and then send it. So it could be that your case is either already finalized or not yet processed. We don't know which one. So if they're actively processing it, they're not sending it to NBC. So anyway, bottom line is they want to send all the 485 cases employment-based. They want NBC to handle them. But they have not yet given us instructions to send cases directly to NBC. We are sending it as usual to Texas or Nebraska or wherever it has to go based on the address. And then they are forwarding it to NBC. So right now, we still have all these different service centers that we are sending it to. And that's based on the address. So, we don't have a choice in that.
Got it.
Okay. So my one question, last question, I don't want to take much time from you.
Mm-hmm.
So once it reaches National Benefit Center, it also comes to local field office, like there will be a status update for that one too. Like when
it will only go to local field office if there is an interview. Otherwise, no reason for it to go to local field office.
Oh,
that's only if an interview is scheduled, and not all cases are interviewed.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Prashanthi Garu. Thanks for your time. Thanks for organizing for the community.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Your name?
Prasad.
Okay. And your question, please?
Yeah, ma'am. Thanks for giving the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So Ma'am, I have a question. My case was in EB2 earlier, 2012 December, early first week. And later I did a downgrade to EB3, but the dates went retrograded. So, and later there's an option called came in as interfile. So I did that interfile to EB2. But since the old EB2 I-140 was amended and downgraded, so attorney suggested to open up a new I-140. I did that. New I-140 was approved, and during the interfile they said, like, if you process in premium, EB2 in a premium, you don't have to send the 485J to California address. Instead, file a premium for EB2 and interfile it to existing 485. So they've interfiled EB2, with a new I-140 in a premium processing. And EB2 was approved. And later I called USCIS and they said, like, my EB2 140 was been attached to the 485. And now recently, last month, my case has been moved to NBC. So now my question here, for Prashanthi Garu is, hello ma'am, this is Prasad. Thanks for giving an opportunity. My question is for you, ma'am, for an help. So since I didn't do a 485J when I did my interfile with new I-140 in a premium processing, and did interfile, but attorney said, so we don't have to send the 485J when you are already doing premium processing with 485. So everything went through, case been moved to NBC, but I don't see any progress almost a month. So I have a question. Do you recommend now filing a 485J now, or just wait and see?
No, you've done everything that you, and you've been very, so first of all, you've been very good at explaining your case. You've given everything in great detail. And whatever you've done and whatever your attorney suggested is correct. If you have an I-140 pending, you do not have to file a 485J. USCIS is very clear about that. And also, it seems like you called USCIS and they have confirmed that, the interfile request has been approved. So you're saying that the EB2 is attached to the I-140, which means that the interfile request has been approved. So at this point of time, there's nothing further to be done. Looks like everything is going as it should for you. The only thing you can do is wait. There is no purpose of filing 485J.
No, there's no purpose, ma'am. Okay. So when I called them, they said, like, yes, I see your new I-140 EB2 been attached to the 485.
That's great. That's confirmation. That is confirmation. They will not send a receipt. They might send a letter saying that we have accepted your interfile request, but I have not seen any kind of letter like that so far. We've done so many. I haven't seen any issuance of any such letter. Of course, the 485Js, we get receipts whenever we file. But again, you don't file a 485Js in every case. It's only when needed. So I think you're on the right track, right? I think the only thing to do now is to wait. That's the thing with interfile. You don't know how long it will take if you interfile. It's not transparent, the process.
Okay, so once the case has been moved to NBC, so it's fair to live and wait what's going to happen.
That's all we can do, right? There's nothing further we can do other than that. There are thousands of people in the same position as you, just waiting. So there's no harm in doing expedite request and calling them, bugging them. You can do all those things, put in service requests. There's no harm in doing all that. Continue doing it, but there's nothing beyond that you can do at this point.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah. Thanks for your
Thank
guidance.
you. Thank you so much, Prasad.
Hello, ma'am. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, your question, please.
My name is Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. So again, same thing. The EB2 visa bulletin came today, and my priority date for EB2 is June 2014. I downgraded it, but my EB2 is still active. So my EB3 is approved, and I got the EAD2. Now my question is, my wife is in India for last 4.5 years. I'm on H1B right now, and she's trying to get here on H4. She's not getting any visa appointment over there right now. And now my date current as of today's visa bulletin. So I am eligible to interfile my EB3 485 to EB2 485 to EB2. Now my question is:
has your wife filed the 485 as well, or she hasn't? She didn't, right? Because she was
she was there for last 4.5 years.
Okay.
So she's been there since 2017. So what is your suggestion? Should I do? Should I continue with my green card? Because if I get the green card, then my whole category will change, and my wife is like green card dependent now, becomes the green card dependent. Right now, because I'm on H1B, she can apply for H4.
Right. So, but that's being optimistic, because even if you file, it doesn't mean you'll get it tomorrow. And just because you interfile today doesn't mean you'll get your green card tomorrow. So I think you should interfile. And anyway, things are going to take their course. It's not like once you interfile, you'll get it immediately. Nobody's getting it like that. So, let her come and do her thing. You can also refile your 485, though USCIS has recommended not to do it because they don't want duplicate filings. That's from their point of view. But from our point of view, you can either do a refiling of your 485 or you can do interfiling also.
Refile for EB2?
You can do either interfile or refile.
Refile for EB2. Okay. Right. Now my other question is like, are they gonna stop interfiling after like October?
They have not said that. Interfiling is something that has always been available even in the past. It's not a new. It's not a new rule.
Okay. We thought that just because right now everybody.
No, they just they just brought it to your notice that this such and such thing exists because nobody had much faith in the interfile regulation. Nobody had much faith that they would look at it, so people were just refiling. So they're reminding people because they don't want to be stuck with 200,000 485s again, duplicate filings.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yes.
So it will be better to file or apply a new one.
You should.
Not to wait.
Yeah. You should.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. We have one more caller, Prashanthi. Let's take it. Hello. 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 Hello, Andy. You're on the line. You can talk to Prashanthi Garu. Hello. Phone number ending with 6777 or phone number ending with 4086. If you're on the line, you can talk.
I had my question, ma'am. I'm just waiting.
Oh, you already asked?
Yeah. 4086. Yeah, I had my question.
Okay. Please go ahead with your question.
No, I got question clarified, the earlier one.
Oh, got it. Thank you. Thank you so much for calling then.
6777 is mine. That is Bhavin. I already asked my question too.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, Prashanthi.
Yes.
Hello.
Bhargavi, yeah.
Yeah, so let's dive into the topic, our today's topic.
I almost thought we are not going to get to the topic.
I thought too. There are so many calls and so many questions. I understand. Yeah. So going into our topic, what are the different ways to get green card in US?
Right. So we have to figure out what are the different green card eligibility categories. There is green card through family. That is, it can either be through immediate, you could be an immediate relative of a US citizen, which means you could be a spouse, unmarried child under the age of 21, or a parent of a US citizen. So that's the first family category, and there is no visa number availability for that because it's always current. That doesn't come under the visa numbers. There's no limitation. So you can file that at any given point of time. The other family-based category is other relative of a US citizen or a relative or a permanent resident. So say you're unmarried son or daughter of US citizen over 21, so you're not a minor. Then you come under a different category and it's not an immediate relative, so there is a wait. Also married son and daughter of a US citizen. Also brother and sister of a US citizen who's over 21 years of age. So these categories also are there for US citizens. And for permanent residents, as we were just saying, spouse of a lawful permanent resident, child, unmarried child under 21 can file. Unmarried son or daughter of a lawful permanent resident over 21 can file. So there are all these categories. And as we were discussing, the visa bulletin said that spouse and child of permanent resident, most probably there will be a cut. Right now it's current and it's been current for a few years since 2019. But it's likely that there will be a cutoff date in August.
Oh.
So we have to wait and see when the cutoff date is established and what date it goes back to. Another category for family-based is fiancé of a US citizen. That means you are not married as yet, but engaged to someone. So you can come in on a K1, that's a K1, and the child of that person can come in on a K2. Also, if you're a widow or a widower of a US citizen, you could file as well even after your US citizen spouse passes away. You can still get the benefit of the green card. Not many people know this, but that's one category as well. And then, of course, you have the VAWA self-petition, which means that you can petition for yourself a green card. If you're the abused, so under this is all for abused spouses. So abused spouse of US citizen or a permanent resident or an abused child under 21 years or an abused parent of a US citizen. So these are the categories under VAWA. Now, coming to employment-based, we know that there are a lot of categories under employment-based. You have the first immigrant worker petition, first preference, EB1. It's called EB1, and as you see in the visa bulletin, EB1 has been current for some time. Worldwide, EB1 has always been current. India, EB1, there was a cutoff date pre-COVID. Now it's current. We don't know for how long. So EB1 is basically extraordinary ability. If you have an extraordinary ability in the sciences, in arts, in education, business, in sports, then you could qualify for EB1. Also, if you're an outstanding professor or researcher and you're working in that field as a professor or researcher, and you can show that your research is to the benefit of the United States, you can get a green card based on that. And also your L1 based multinational executive or managers, a lot of EB1s come in that way. A lot of international companies, Cognizant, TCS, they bring their employees to that L1A category.
Got it.
And you also have EB2, which is what we are discussing in all the calls today. EB2. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you. There is one more caller. Can we take it?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Hello. Hello. Yes, phone number ending with 5165. You can talk, Andy.
Hi, my name is Kiran. Can I speak?
Yes, you can speak to Prashanthi.
Hey, Prashanthi. So my name is Kiran. Thanks much for the opportunity. My priority date is 2014 August, and I have downgraded in 2020. So my I-140 is not approved in EB3. So just wanted to check what is the best course for me. Will interfile is the best course or refiling is the best course?
Well, whether it's pending or it's approved, it really doesn't matter. You can use either interfile or you can use refiling of the 45. It doesn't matter that I-140 is if you're not sure of your EB3 getting approved, since it's been pending for so long, obviously there's no premium processing on it. I don't think there's any harm in refiling your 485. So now, there are certain advantages and disadvantages of, both types of processes. filing as well as refiling. For the interfiling, your processing time does not increase. Whatever time you have spent, you have filed your 485 is still first come, first serve. So that benefit still continues. But the disadvantage is, I'm getting a lot of disturbance, Bhargavi.
Oh.
I can hear my own voice.
I am checking mine.
So just to continue for the, I can't hear myself.
Oh, sorry. Our team is checking on that.
Okay. In order to interfile, the disadvantage of an interfile is that you don't know, right, Kiran, to act upon the interfile or they're not going to act upon it. So that's the biggest disadvantage. But refiling, the advantage is that you're paying the money. That's a disadvantage and an advantage. And so they have to act upon it at some point, and they have to process it. Interfiling is discretionary. Processing a new 485 is not. But also, the disadvantage of a new 485 is the fact that your processing starts right from the beginning again. So you have to take these into consideration when you decide what you want to do.
Yeah. Callers, when you are calling, please don't switch on the radio because it is echoing and causing voice disturbances. Please turn off the volume in your radio and call us so it will be easy to talk to the guest. It's a request. Thank you. Yes. Coming back to our topic, Prashanthi, you were saying about EB2.
Yeah. I'm still getting that echo, Bhargavi.
You are still getting it?
Yeah. So maybe we can mute everyone else who's not.
Sure. Yeah. My team is working on that. We can go ahead.
Okay. So it's difficult because I can't hear.
I understand.
So I think we were discussing EB2, employment-based second preference category. Employment-based second preference category are people who are a member of the profession. It means doctors, lawyers, they all come under EB2. Dentists, etc. But also those people who have an advanced degree, such as a master's, or a person who has a bachelor's plus 5 years of experience. If the job requires a master's, bachelor's plus 5 years, that comes under EB2. Also, people with exceptional ability in the science. Not extraordinary ability, but there's a distinction. Exceptional ability, that comes into EB2 category of EB1. Also, those people seeking a national interest waiver. That is if you're filing self-petitioning, filing for yourself. This again requires extraordinary ability. Again, there's an EB2 for this and there's an EB1. We talk about the employment category. You can self-petition if you don't have an employer. Then the next is the third preference category. This is for skilled workers. So skilled workers is any job that requires 2 years of experience or training, which doesn't necessarily require a bachelor's degree. And the second is bachelor's degree requirement. That also comes under EB3. So if a bachelor's degree in computer science is required for a job, it comes under EB3. Unskilled workers. So there are different types of EB3s. But the priority date is the same for all types of EB3s. So the unskilled workers is another category where less than 2 years of experience is required. So that could be EB3 as well. Now another category, another way of getting green card is also through, if you're a physician, you can file a national interest waiver. So if you're a physician who agrees to work full-time in a practice that's designated as an underserved area, which means a low employment area, that's what an underserved area is. For a certain period of time, those people are eligible to get a green card as well. So that's an advantage for us. And of course, we have the EB5. A lot of people would have heard, a lot of you listeners must have heard of EB5. This is investors who are actively in the process of investing at least 1 million or 500,000 in a targeted employment area, so like an underserved area. And they hire 10 people in that position in a new commercial enterprise, a new business, it has to be. They qualify for EB5. So in addition to that, we also have some other ways of getting a green card. If you're a religious worker, right? If you're working as a priest, you're a member of a religious denomination, like you're a Hindu priest, for example, you can qualify. We have to file an application which is called the I-360, and you can file if the visa number is available, I-360 as well as the 485 together. So you could be a religious minister, like a priest, or a religious vocation in either professional or non-professional capacity. So you could be, for example, a musician, a person who conducts the prayers in a temple or priest or mosque, or you could be the actual priest. So you don't have to be only a priest to apply for this. So that's one way of getting an immigrant card as well. In addition to that, there are some other categories. To get a green card, you can get a green card as a special immigrant. You can get a green card as a refugee or an asylum. Like people apply for asylum. A lot of you must have heard of asylum. So people apply for asylum when they're outside the country at the border itself. They're called refugees. People who come to the country and then apply for asylum, they're called asylees. So if you received an approval of asylum or refugee status, after 1 year, you can automatically apply for green card. Another interesting category is if you are a person who has suffered human trafficking, meaning you're a victim of human trafficking, you have non-immigrant T visa. Based on the T visa, you can apply for a green card. Or if there has been some crime committed against you, you're a crime victim, and you currently have a U visa. A U visa is usually given to people who have been abused. Spousal abuse categories are U visa. So they can also get a green card based on that. Then you also have the Violence Against Women's Act, so VAWA. So as I said previously, that if you are a battered spouse or a child or parent of a US citizen or a lawful permanent resident, based on that also, you can get a green card. Some other categories are, not that often used. I just have to mention the diversity visa. Diversity visa is not for Indians, but there are a lot of other countries, Bangladeshis, Pakistanis, other South Asians apply for diversity visa. It's simply a lottery. So if you're eligible under the lottery, you can apply. So those are some of the categories under which you can apply for a green card.
Got it. So is there a scenario where someone can sponsor their own green card without having to wait for an employer?
Yes, there is. So for example, if you're under EB1, Exceptional Ability in the Arts, I filed an EB1 for a well-known Bollywood singer. Such a person would qualify. She received the Bharat Ratna, several awards. For such a person, you don't have to receive such a high award, but Nandi Awards, whatever it is, you're famous, well-known, you have a good fan following, and you've received awards that not be international, could be of national significance, but that such a person could apply, for example, for an EB1. And that is a self-petitioning category. You do not have to file that.
Got it. So there are some questions on YouTube. Can I ask you?
Sure.
Anil Kumar is asking, I am on EB3 June 2011. My case moved to NBC. I am worried EB3 will not move. Can I or should I upgrade from EB3 to EB2?
I think we are receiving the same questions.
Okay. You answered it.
Yeah, we received the same question. So basically, to briefly answer again, you you should interfile because EB2 is moving faster now. You can either interfile or you can file for a new 485, or you can do both.
Got it. Thank you. So coming back to our topic, so we are talking about green card. So what is the process to apply for a green card? Procedures. Can you explain about it?
Right. So first, we have to, with reference to, we have to see whether you're eligible for a green card or not. So you have to see which category you fall under all these different categories that I mentioned. And a very good website is the USCIS.gov website, which explains all these different types of eligibility categories. So you can go into each one and see whether you meet the eligibility of those individual green cards. For example, if you think you might meet the eligibility of EB1 artist, go to that artist section and check what the specific eligibility is for that particular category. So there's usually 5 or 6 category, 5 or 6 different points, and you have to meet the eligibility based on at least 3 out of 5. If you do, then it's possible that you can get a green card. So once you've decided whether you're eligible or not, there's a different process if you're in the country or if you're outside the country.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the country, you file for adjustment of status, which is the 485, which we can spend an entire hour talking about just the 485. But that's basically adjustment of status from a non-immigrant status to an immigrant status. It's filed using the form I-485. The other is the consular processing. That is, if you're out of the country, you can apply as well. This is the method to immigrate when you're out of the country. Or if you're not eligible to file for adjustment of status, maybe because you're not in status.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing to remember is you can concurrently file your immigrant petition as well as your adjustment of status application. So if you're in the country, for example,
Mm-hmm.
if you're filing a family-based petition, you can file an I-130 and you can file a 485 together, concurrently.
Concurrently,
if the visa number is available.
Mm-hmm.
Say you're marrying a US citizen, then the visa number is always available for that category. You can file both, immigrant visa as well as adjustment. Say you're filing for under VAWA, as abused spouse. You can file your 360, which is the immigrant petition, and the 485 together. Same thing for employment-based. You're filing I-140 under EB1 category. File I-140 and 485 together. So you can file concurrently. So, of course, in order to be able to file 485 or even to do consular processing, you have to check if your visa is available or not. And we talked about, right, the visa bulletin and how to look at it. And so if your visa bulletin is reached your priority date or is beyond your priority date, then you can file the 485. Or you can file consular processing depending on where you are. Now, if you filed a green card and it's pending and you need to travel out of the country, you can apply for advance parole, or you can apply for a travel document or a re-entry permit, depending on what your situation is. So you can travel while your application is pending. Also, you can file for employment authorization while your application is pending. These are called these are benefits that are given while your application is pending. Travel benefit, the employment authorization benefit. So employment authorization is also called EAD, and it's filed usually filing form I-765. Another important thing to remember is you have to file medicals along with, when you have green, you need to file medicals. You need to pass a medical exam. And when you're doing a medical exam, you have to make sure that you're fully vaccinated for COVID. That's a new requirement after COVID.
Oh.
Yeah. You also have to make sure that you get the flu shot. If it's flu season, they'll ask you to take the flu shot. So you have to show, along with these common vaccines, that you're fully vaccinated and you pass, a medical test. Right?
So can they do medicals along with the interfiling? While they're doing interfiling itself, they can submit medicals also?
So, right. So when you're filing interfiling, that is not the place to file medicals. You have to file medicals when you're filing your 485.
485,
say you're refiling your 485 because you want to go back to EB2. Then if you're refiling at that time, you can file medicals. But if you're just doing an interfiling request, USCIS has specifically said that they don't want the medicals with the interfiling request.
Oh, got it.
Another thing to remember is for family-based petitions, there'll be a sponsor, right? Somebody sponsoring you, some family member. The sponsor has to submit an affidavit of support.
Okay.
So the affidavit of support is basically saying they have to have the economic means to support you while you're in the US. So there's certain income that they have to show depending on the size of the family, right?
Got it. Yeah.
Other thing that we have when we're talking about processes is we have to talk about CSPA, which is Child Status Protection Act. So we're talking about, this is in common terminology called aging out.
Aging out. Yeah. They turn 21 and what will happen?
Correct. So if your child turns 21, he ages out unless you get the green card before that. So say you file for the 485 and you're filing not based on final action date, but you're filing based on dates for filing. As I explained, this dates for filing they're allowing you to file in advance before your visa number becomes available. Just so that you can get the benefit of the 765 and they can have the 485 and they can process it. They're expecting visa number to become available. They want the 485 to be filed in advance so that by the time it becomes available, they would have processed the 485. That's the whole idea. It doesn't work like that. That's the idea behind. So if you file based on that, dates for filing, then your child becomes over 21 and you have not yet gotten your 485, the child ages. So the only thing that can be done at that point is that the child, you can deduct the time that it took for the immigrant petition to get approved.
Right.
So the immigrant petition, remember, is the I-140 in employment. So if the employment I-140 took 6 months to get approved, you can deduct that time from the child's age.
Okay.
And if that is enough for them, by the 6 months times, if they get the green card, good. Otherwise, they still age out.
Oh, they still age out.
Yeah. So and then they have to find their own ways. So they'll have to either leave the country, come back on a student status.
Yeah. Or can they be on F1? If they age out, can they go on F1?
Yeah. So it depends. If they have not maintained the non-immigrant status, a lot of people change to a 485 EAD status, in which case then they will have to leave the country to get an F1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then go to the consulate, get an F1 visa, and then come in.
Come back. Oh, got it.
But if they maintain their H4 status, say you can in advance change, before they turn 21, change from a H4 to an F1. And so they don't have to go to the consulate.
Got it. So we have one more question from Rajesh. He's saying, my priority date became current now, and I am traveling to India in June first week. Can I interfile from EB3 to EB2 when I'm in India, or what are the options I have?
There is no rush to interfile. It's not like if you interfile or if you don't interfile, something is going to happen this moment. Nothing is going to happen. Just because it became current doesn't mean that tomorrow you'll get your green card. I wish it was like that, but that's not the case. But I mean, if you're in a rush, then do the interfiling. How long does it take? Do the interfiling and then go, if you're able to.
Okay.
Otherwise, come back and do it, because you never know what they're going to ask you, or if they send something, then you may not be able to collect it. It's always better to be in the country when you're doing it. That's what I think. But you're not barred from doing interfiling simply because you're going on a visit, and you're not in the country. There's no bar as such.
Nice. So there is one more question from Praveen Kumar, California. When I come back from India on EAD or AP and I do interfiling after that, both my wife and myself will be interfiled. Will she be still dependent on me, or she is no longer dependent on me since she traveled on AP?
So, is she on a H4? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think, yeah. So if she traveled on she was on H4 and she traveled on advance parole, that's a little bit of a gray area. If you're on H4, if you're on H1, it's not a gray area. You can, instead of traveling on your H1 visa, you can still travel on, AP and then get back to H1 status as if nothing has happened, as if you haven't traveled on AP. It's not like you go into 485 status. You can still continue to maintain your H1 status.
H1 status. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But if but they're asking whether dependent or not. They are obviously dependent because whether it be based on H4 or based on 485, both ways they're dependent.
Oh, okay.
So unless she has filed a separate green card for herself, the wife is going to be dependent on the husband's 485 application.
So they both will be interfiled after they come back.
Correct. Yeah, both are interfiled. Correct. So that doesn't affect the 485. It might affect our H4 status, but not the 485 status.
So she will lose the H4 status once she comes on AP?
Well, that is a little bit of a gray area because, as I said, H1, it's pretty clear that you can come back on H1, but for H4, it's not that clear.
Okay.
So you could come back and if you file a H4 extension or you leave and come back on a H4, then you could always get back into H4 status.
Got it. Okay. So, yeah, coming back onto the green card process, what are the documents needed for I-485 adjustment of status?
Right. So there are a lot of documents needed, but to name a few important documents needed is you would have to show if you're adjusting status, you have to first show that you're in status. You cannot be out of status when you're filing a 485. So you have to show documents pertaining to status, which is your latest I-94. It could be if you're on a H1, in order to show status, you have to submit your latest pay stubs because you're only in status if you're working, with some exceptions, of course. So if you're on a student status, then you'd have to show you have I-20 and letter from the school saying that you're maintaining full-time student status, or if you are on EAD, OPT, CPT, then you have to submit those documents. So anything that shows status, depending on what status you're on, the document could be different, right? So first you have to submit proof of status. Second, you have to submit your birth certificates. So the birth certificates have to be registered around the time of the birth, say 1 year, 2 years around the time of the birth, but not 10 years after the time of the birth. So if you don't have currently registered birth certificates, then what you can do is get a new birth certificate. Register
the birth certificates, right?
Yeah, correct. So you have to register. You have to get that registered at. If you're in India, mostly it's the municipal office. Register of birth and deaths that does that.
Oh, okay.
So, but if you get a newly registered birth certificate, you will need second evidence to further prove your date of birth. So secondary evidence could be affidavits, birth affidavits given by your parents or by some living relative or friend who was there was present at the time of your birth. And these have to be affidavits, which means they have to be notarized. If they're in India, they have to be on stamp paper. Or also secondary evidence, another example is school leaving certificate or a transfer certificate, as we say in India. So you can submit that as well.
That as well.
Yeah. Okay. So if you don't have a birth certificate at all because you never got it registered, then you have to apply for a non-availability certificate at the registrar's office, which basically says that your birth has never been registered.
Oh.
In addition to the non-availability certificate, then you can submit the secondary evidence, that is birth affidavit or school leaving certificate or hospital letter, some other evidence to show when you were born. So birth certificate is important. Now, if you're filing your 485 for dependents, then you have to submit documents to show proof of relationship. So if their children, say you're filing for your children, you have to submit birth certificate, their birth certificate showing you as the parent. If you're submitting for your spouse, you have to submit a marriage certificate which shows that you're married to the person. Both your names have to be. So that is proof of relationship for the dependent. So that's important documentation. So these are the medicals. You have to submit the medicals. And as I said, the medicals have to be updated and they have to be sealed. You also have to submit photographs, passport size photographs, right? And then, of course, you have to submit the fees. And it's important to submit the correct fees. Otherwise, your entire case will come back. And make sure that, there is money in the bank. If the check bounces, then, of course, the case comes back. And next month, if the visa bulletin is not available and it comes back the following month, you can't file. So you've lost your...
Small issues also matters, right?
Correct. If you don't sign on your application form, it will come back. So there are a lot of things, a lot of attention to detail that goes into this process. Yeah, that goes into the process. So be very careful about everything.
Good. So there is one more question. Can I file my I-485 and still maintain my non-immigrant status? Can I travel on my H1 or H4?
Right, we just discussed that. That if you're on a H1, you can travel on advance parole. USCIS has made it very clear. And you can come back and continue to be on a H1 status and continue to file an extension whenever you need it, or file an amendment, or file a transfer if you're H1. So you don't automatically lose your H1 status if you travel on advance parole.
Got it. Thank you. So coming back to our topic, so we should be very careful with all the documents we are submitting and make sure there is nothing wrong in it, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So can a person to get a green card, if they have committed a crime, can that person also get a green card? Is there a possibility?
Yes, there is. There is a possibility of that happening, but it really depends on the circumstances. So mostly, if you look at Indian nationals, they don't commit big crimes, but they commit a lot of petty offenses. So you will see a lot of shoplifting. I see a lot of shoplifting cases. So if for example, taking the example of shoplifting, if the person stole below a certain amount worth of goods, then in that state, it would be considered, depending on the amount that the goods were worth, it would be considered either a misdemeanor or a felony. So if it's a small amount, it might just be a misdemeanor, which means a maximum sentence of 6 months in jail or a fine. If it's a felony, then that's a different story. So if it's a misdemeanor, then under the petty offense exception, you can still file a green card.
Oh, okay. So is there a possibility of getting approved in that circumstances?
Yes, you have to show that the person falls under the petty offense exception. You have to show that they have the good moral character, submit affidavits from their friends and families showing the good, that they're good people. And then you can, definitely get a green card. So for the other categories, so they might be inadmissible to get a green card. So those categories are aggravated felonies, which we just talked about, drug involvement. So if they're dealing with drugs, selling drugs. Drugs.
Okay.
And crimes involving moral turpitude, which is a very vague term, but which is only a term that USCIS understands. But so these three offenses, if you commit, then in order to get a green card, you will have to file for a waiver. Right. So aggravated felonies, if you just Google in your state what are aggravated felonies such as murder, money laundering, drug trafficking, human trafficking, etc. They're all aggravated felonies. And then crimes against moral turpitude could be fraud. Of course, murdering someone is and rape, or these kind of things are crimes against morals. So it's not necessary that you should have been convicted by court, but even if you admitted to it, that you did it, say in an interview, but you were never convicted by court, even then you're barred from the green card.
Got it. So there is one more question, Prashanthi.
Yeah.
So he's asking when we should start the processing of green card. They should start immediately as soon as they come to US, or they can wait. Is there any procedure for this?
Well, considering the fact that it's taking forever for Indian nationals to get a green card, it makes sense, right? Start as soon as you can.
Good. Got it. So can we also file a green card while we are in India or Canada? Is that necessary to be staying in US?
So as we were talking about the whole green card process, I said if you are outside the country, then you have to do consular processing.
Okay.
It's a different process, but you can file. So what happens is your I-130 or I-140 immigrant petition is filed with the USCIS, you get an approval. And if you're outside the country, then we have to notify NVC, National Visa Center. So the National Visa Center will send the application online to your attorney or to you or whoever is involved. Then we have to fill out the application online, and we have to fill out all the documents, submit all the documents online. The documentation is pretty similar to that of a 485.
Okay, got it.
So once all that is submitted online, and then once NVC is satisfied that they have a complete package, they forward that documentation to the consulate, to the consular office. Then the consulate will send that person a letter asking them to come for an interview. And they will ask them to do a police clearance. They'll ask them to get medicals done. So you have to take everything and go to the consulate. Once the interview is successfully completed, then they will issue something called the Immigrant Visa. I think one of the callers, we discussed that.
Yeah.
So the Immigrant Visa, they will just, after that, they'll use that visa, come into the country, and then the green card gets processed, starts getting processed at the airport itself. And then they get the green card in the mail. So that's the process if you're out of the country.
Okay. So there is one last question, Prashanthi. So should a person be working with the same company that is filing for green card, or they can change the employer and will it affect green card?
Right, good question. So you can change the employer under the AC21 rule. As for that, if your 485 has been pending for at least 6 months, or if your I-140 and your I-140 has to be approved, 2 conditions have to be met, then you can file for a transfer of employer as long as the job is same or similar.
Oh, okay.
So there's no definition of same or similar. In an IT situation, pretty much program analyst, software engineer, database analyst, everybody is similar.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be very similar.
So they have to file a new I-140, or they can continue with the same, or
they have to file a 485J form. A new company has to file a 485J form. That's it.
Okay. So their priority date doesn't affect. It remains the same.
Correct. The priority date remains the same. That's correct.
Good.
But Bhargavi, when you're interfiling, if you request for interfiling, then you cannot do AC21 for 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's something people who are requesting interfiling have to remember that.
Okay, good point.
Yeah.
Thank you. So there is a possibility they can change the employer if there is green card is processing also.
Correct. Yes.
Got it. Very nice. So finally, would you like to give any suggestions to our listeners regarding green card processing? Finally, what do you want to tell our listeners?
So basically, for the green card process, it's a very involving process, and though it seems like an easy process, there is so much that goes into it, and so much at stake. So my suggestion would be, I'm not saying this because I'm an attorney and I need your business, but I'm saying this because this is how I really feel. Don't try to do it yourself. Use the expertise that you have available. Use an attorney that has good experience in filing these kind of petitions. And this is not one of those things that it's not a do-it-yourself thing, because a lot of things can go wrong. So that's my final bit of advice for people who have green cards.
So better to go with an experienced attorney than doing it by yourself. So it helps a lot.
Correct. Because there's a lot of issues that come up which you won't even know.
Exactly. There will be lot of issues that.
And just simple, and you just because you're not used to doing it, there's simple things that you could miss. You'll send it to the wrong address. You may not sign. You may not send the correct check. You may not sign the check. You might not send it to the right address. There's so many issues that I have seen come up when people file cases on their own.
Right. So small details may be missing. So better to go with it.
You might not tick mark. You might not check mark a box which you have to check mark.
Exactly.
And then the entire case comes back.
True. That's right. Correct. I totally understand. And friends, yes, you can contact Prashanthi Reddy Garu for all your immigration related issues, and she can help you with her amazing experience. And finally, Prashanthi Garu, thank you so much for giving a lot of insights to immigration issues and explaining everything in detail. Thank you so much for joining with us today. It was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhargavi. It was a pleasure to be here, and it's always exciting and interesting for me to talk about immigration. I can talk forever about immigration. So thanks for giving me that opportunity.
Sure. Next time we can have a very good show with another topic.
Sure, definitely, Bhargavi.
That will be really great. Yes, friends. So that's today's immigration show. Friends, I hope you all had a great insights regarding immigration issues, and I hope this information helped you, many of you, in many ways. For more details, you can contact Prashanthi Reddy Garu directly. And I will see you all again with another interesting topic next time. Until then, have a great time. This is Bhargavi signing off. Have a happy weekend and stay healthy. Take care. Bye-bye.